singing in the kitchen, family, running through the yard, family, going on vacation, family, on the credit card, family, all in this together, family, we're taking a chance, family, like birds of a feather, family, kick off our shoes and dance.
Looking back as an adult on Oma and Opa, they were certainly very adventurous. Not only was Opa, who'd never been to Indonesia, Oma was born and raised there, of course, was willing to go back after the war and go to work for a great uncle. That was the first adventure. And then, of course, when they had to leave Indonesia, which was not the plan, we were sort of forced out by Sukarno's communist days. They didn't want to live in Holland. They said it was too socialist, and they said it was much too cold. And so we then immigrated to the States. They had American friends from the embassy who they met at church in Indonesia. And you have to have a sponsor in order to immigrate. So they were adventurous. They were really hardworking. People loved him. He was a European gentleman. He flirted with all the ladies in their wheelchairs at age 95 or whatever. I mean, they just adored him. You know, he had a little bit of an accent. He was European.
Oma and Opa were wonderful. Just a lot of fun, great personality, had a Dutch accent, you know, coming from the Netherlands. And so they were really cute that way. Opa loved to sail and loved to sing. And he loved to grill satay. And he was a bit of a character, you know, you had to get to know him, but he had a little bit of a rough exterior, but underneath you knew he was really a sweetheart. Oma was the life of the party and fun and funny and loved to cook. She's also very strong-willed and knew what she wanted. I feel like I got that from her as well. And both of them very, very smart.
I think for me, I loved their house in Connecticut on the lake. We used to visit their lake house. So Opa taught us how to fish. He had a little sailboat. We would go canoeing. I have a scar on my leg because we would clean up the glass and stuff in the lake. And then I was carrying a garbage bag of broken bottles and one sliced my leg open. So that's a memory from their house.
The earliest stage of kind of their life that I have a lot of memories of was their lake house in Connecticut. Lake Mamanasco, I think it was called. So at that point, they came across still as very active. Like Opa loved sailing. He would take me out sailing on the lake. He had a little kind of dinghy that could take, 2 or 3 people, or canoeing or things like that. I loved swimming in the lake. I remember being fascinated by the big machine they had that went around on the lake and chomped up all the seaweed that would grow in there that often was out of control. They had a house that was on a canal and had a boat, a power boat that Opa would take us out in, through the canal out to the river. Opa used to love to sing. He would sing at their kind of retirement communities and senior centers and stuff like that. I remember a story. I don't remember, not even sure at this point whether I'm remembering it myself or I'm remembering Mom telling this story, that attributes to me some of the credit/blame of inspiring that in Opa. In that, I remember we were on a road trip, as a family or driving somewhere, and Opa was singing. And I, being the wise ass kid that I was, decided to tell a joke that I had heard recently. And I kind of insulted his singing. The joke was what did you do with the money? What money? The money that your mom gave you for singing lessons. Right? I thought that was hilarious at that age. I used that on my grandfather. I'm sure very disrespectful in retrospect. But the apocryphally, or what I know Mom used to like to say, is that by challenging the quality of his singing, he was inspired to prove me wrong. And that was roughly the point in his life that he got into that in a big way. So that's something that I always remember him doing, up to the end of his life, basically. I remember watching Lawrence Welk every week on TV with Oma and Opa, which was that same kind of old music that they used to love.
I remember going to the Asian buffet with them, like on either like Saturdays or Sundays once in a while, you know, either right across the street or like a couple blocks away. I remember at one point, but then I think after Opa passed, Oma moved, I think, and then we didn't get to go as often, you know.
They were social. They had people over, especially after they, well, they didn't retire, but especially when they went to Ridgefield. Even before that, they were social. Oma worked 40-hour weeks, commuted an hour each way, and then on the weekend, she would either have an Indonesian dinner party with satay if it was a weekend, or otherwise dessert and coffee and slides, which were Opa's slides of traveling around the world, visiting us and stuff.
We got the treat of looking at their slideshows. And so they would have parties, and we would go to the parties and have dinner. And then after dinner, we would see their slideshows of all the cool places that they went to visit. And a lot of times they went to see Anne Huncha because she lived all over the world, and maybe it was Indonesia or Singapore, different places. And I just remember like, wow, this is something that I really want to do someday. One funny story about that is one day we were doing the slideshow after the party, and all of a sudden the slides started going crazy. It was like, and we didn't know what was going on with the slide projector. And it turned out that Oma sat on the a remote control for the slide projector, and it was just going crazy. And finally we figured it out, and Oma was just roaring with laughter that she sat on the remote control. And we got a speed version of their latest trip. But I guess that's my biggest memory. We didn't really get to travel a lot together, although we did visit Anne Huncha a few times. But the slideshows, I think, inspired my interest of that someday I wanted to be able to do that, what Oma and Opa used to do.
Opa was very into doing slideshows back when that was kind of the best way to share photos. You just reminded me. They had done a lot of traveling on their own and lived in a lot of interesting places as well. So Opa used to love pulling out the slide projector and having kind of the big carousel of slides going around.
And soup and pancakes, soup and flensjes is what they're called, crepes, was always what she served. If it wasn't an Indonesian lunch, then it was soup and crepes.
Oma did make the Dutch pancakes, which are essentially crepes, and she would make them for skating parties a lot. So we would go skating on the lake where she lived, and then afterwards she would make pancakes and pea soup. Huncha also makes them quite a bit, and a lot of times when she comes to visit, she would take the crepe pan with her, and that was her thing, is in the morning she would make crepes for everybody. So
I prefer them fresh, so I go with the pan right in front of your nose and dump it on your plate, and then make sure that you stay back so that I don't burn your eyebrows off. That's how it works.
What amazes people, they of course say, well, what's the recipe? And Anja said, well, you have to watch.
It's the
You have
consistency.
You have to get it right. And so it's a matter of judging consistency and whatever else. That will vary on what you're using as ingredients, what's your altitude and several other things. And but it is it's
2 cups of flour and 1 egg for every 2
artisanal.
people and 2 cups of milk, más o menos. But the point is, it depends on your flour, depends on the size of your eggs and the kind of milk you're using. So around the world, for me, it's always different.
Oma and Opa had wonderful parties at their house in Ridgefield, Connecticut, and they lived on a lake. So one of the best memories for me of just the whole family being together was at her parties, and she would invite friends, and sometimes Uncle Ben's family would come as well, and they would cook a feast, an Indonesian feast, which they called a rice tafel, and she would make the satay, and Opa would grill. He was the griller.
I remember Indonesian rice tafel is what Oma and Opa would make for special occasions. It's part of kind of my ties to Indonesia, where I was born, is also because it's where Mom was raised, where Oma was raised. Opa would make the satay on the grill, on the skewers. Oma made pretty much everything else, I think. I think they had a relatively traditional relationship when it came to who did the cooking, except that Opa did grill the satay. I remember having competitions with Mark, among other people, for like who could have the most satay skewers at the end of the meal. because the satay was always the best part, in my view.
We used to have satay eating contests. It was mostly the guys, where they would see who could eat the most satay sticks. And just the smell was incredible. So, and she would have me, as I got a little bit older, I would watch her and help her make the satay. And the peanut sauce was just to die for. So those were, the standouts for sure. But she made nasi goreng, which was the rice. She made bami goreng, which is the noodles. I think she made like curried eggs. The krupuk, that's one that she would have. The krupuk in boxes. She would fry them up, and then she would have these tin boxes to keep them airtight. And she would absolutely love serving us the krupuk. And the other thing she loved was ginger ale and Hi-C. And she would combine ginger ale and Hi-C, and that was one of her favorite drinks, like a fruit punch and a ginger ale.
We'd go hang out at their pool, and Oma and Opa would make their satay and rice staffel, and everybody loved their Indonesian food. So that was absolutely every time you saw Oma and Opa, you got that. And then we always got ice cream sodas with ginger ale, because Oma was a big ice cream person. So ginger ale ice cream sodas was another one.
She loved to make the ice cream sodas. So she would make ginger ale, and then she would scoop ice cream on top and kind of stir it up. And it was great on a summer day. And we'd swim in the lake and have a big meal and play games. There was a game that they loved to play, and it was called Clock and Hammer. And I just remember Oma had a hammer, and she would boink, boink, and then we would have poker chips. And I don't remember the premise of the game, but I remember her with the hammer, and we all had poker chips and like some certain kind of card.
She was the gardener and the cook and the cleaner and the everything else. She never had a cleaning lady.
Oma liked to play Scrabble, and especially in the later years when we would come to visit her, she would have the Scrabble game out, and it was that's what we did, was play Scrabble. And she had a game where it spun around. That was a lot of fun, and she was really good at keeping score too. She was a Scrabble whiz.
Whenever I was there, like once in a while we'd play Scrabble, but it was mostly just hearing stories. I loved hearing her stories. I don't remember any, but like I always love hearing stories from other people, especially if they grew up somewhere else.
Opa, when he was young, Chick was going to show you the picture, was kayaking, and now Chick is kayaking. So around Amsterdam, where he was living at the time, he had a kayak, and so was not in the Atlantic, but in the lakes and in the rivers and the canals and things like that. So he was the sailor, and he would race anything that showed up, whether it was a paddleboard or an I don't know what, with his sailboat. He was fanatic.
My favorite things I remember from the lake was going around with Opa in the canoe and fishing out trash from the lake, like cans and bottles and stuff like that. We used to do that as like a fun activity in the summer as the kids, and I was always really excited about that. We would fish them out, and then we would take them to get recycled for the deposit. You'd get like your 5 cents per can or per bottle or something like that. It's something that I always thought that was fascinating.
And of course, Oma loved to swim. So her whole shed was full of, like blow up rings and things like that. And we would go in the lake. And of course, Opa loved to boat. So he had his canoes and his sailboats and things like that. And he would take us out. And there were swans on the lake. And that was really pretty.
Oma was, I think, finished with the university. So back in The Hague, Opa at that point was working in confection, it's called in Holland, which is fashion. He worked for a men's store, I think, and did the display windows and things like that. And they went to a mutual friend at a party. And because of evening and the Germans being there and whatever, the friend asked Opa to walk Oma home. And then they started dating. On the main drag was the store. It was owned by an American diamond dealer. Walking one time, Marianne and I used to go with the maid sometimes to the grocery store. I mean, this little tiny thing on the corner. And I think there was this monkey in a box. Somebody had gotten it for their child as a little one, and of course, taken care of. And it's a wild animal. It isn't meant to be a pet. So we felt sorry for it, and Oma brought it in the house, and it lived on a beam above this long corridor. The problem was this monkey on a chain would leap off the post onto the trays of jewels and watches and raw stones and whatever that the guys were carrying from the workshop to the office. And so that was not so good. And then I guess we gave it to the zoo. I don't know that part.
Overall, the hub of everything to me was Oma's and Opa's house. And it was on, again, a beautiful lake, and we just did so much there. She had a candy drawer with lots of Dutch candies in it and chocolate, which she loved chocolate. So sometimes Mark and I would sneak in there and try and take the chocolate, and she knew it, I think, but we kind of made a game of it. So, but it wasn't just like a little, it was a big drawer stuffed with Cadbury chocolates and stuff. And the other thing that I remember about Oma's house is that she loved to feed the raccoons and the squirrels. And so we would go down in the basement in the evenings, and she would get day-old bread. And at a certain time of night, especially the raccoons would come, and she'd say, "The raccoons are here." And we'd all take some bread, and they'd literally take the bread out of your hand.
I remember another thing they loved to do, they fed the raccoons. So we would always have day-old bread that we'd be able to feed the raccoons through the door at night in their downstairs sliding. So I have good memories of their lake house in the summers.
Tante Eve, unmarried, and she was the maiden aunt. She took care of her parents 100% completely all by herself. Tante Eve was a jewel. Truly, she kept the family together. She was the communicator. We loved her a lot.
When I was introduced into the family, Tante Eve and Yeti were two fixtures that were a part of the family.
Yeah, I borrowed this girlfriend's dress, just like Audrey borrowed her girlfriend's dress. And Oma did buy me a very expensive head thing. And for the rest, since I was in Washington, D.C. in school, finishing school, and we were getting married in Connecticut, Oma did everything else. She got the catering and the cake and everything else. Your grandmother was the first one in line there were only 3 bridesmaids. She was the first to go in light blue. And then another girlfriend, my roommate from college, I guess. And then came this friend whose dress I was wearing, who's been my friend since 5th grade and still is. And so we got married. I was a very good belly dancer. I wasn't on stage, mind you. I was a banker's wife. You don't go on stage as a banker's wife, especially not in Lagos. Although I did some belly grams in bank lobbies and things like that with my girls. And still now, when I move in Zumba, twist, 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 twist to try to keep the hourglass. The belly is now sticking out, but I do still have an hourglass side to side. And body positioning and stuff like that, I still move like a belly dancer.
I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I was one of the first women, and I think I did that when I was in high school. I graduated with an engineering degree, which at the time, not a lot of women did, and I graduated in 3 years. It was supposed to be a 4-year degree.
A friend of mine and I in Jakarta, he was a banker with Citibank, and we both liked motorcycles, so we raced motocross in the Indonesian leagues, but we couldn't use our own name because we didn't want to have our names, which were known as in professional circles as out splashing around in the mud on motorcycles. So I forget what names we used, but we used to race on the weekends and on little motocross bikes.
One point during my time at Dropbox, I was involved in sending in an application for a patent on one of the things that I worked on. So part of what I was worked on was sent in for a patent. The way these things work, it takes several years to actually get granted. So a couple of years later, it came through. They're like, "Oh yeah, my name is on this patent as one of the inventors, and now it's actually official." And like I took a step back at the time and realized that, okay, even if I have my opinions on kind of how this system works and like whether I should be excited about this or not, I thought back to like the little kid that I was. And I remember that when people would ask me, at least at one stage in my life, maybe like 5 or 6 years old, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What I would say is I want to be an inventor, right? Because I already at the time I was into technology. I wanted to make cool things. I think I'd read about, Thomas Edison and like people who like invented stuff. And when that like patent was granted, that technically means like on a piece of paper from the government, I am an inventor, like actually by name, like that's what it says, right? Which is pretty cool.
I'm the first trade compliance person for the Americas overall, because they need someone to try and coordinate all the different factories and say, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Someone do some training, someone figure out if what this hand is doing is the same as what this hand is doing, right? Because all the factories are doing their own thing. So I'm really, really trying to learn what all the factories are doing and figure out how we can all do it together and legally. My role is to make our importing and exporting legal. We want to make sure that we're always doing things legally by the books, but also make sure it's as quick as possible. Everybody wants to get their products in and out.
For a year ago, I started my own business. It's called Surface Experts. We repair things like cabinets and countertops and floors and tubs when they get damaged. Instead of replacing them, we could repair them. So primarily a commercial B2B business where apartment complexes and assisted living are some of our bigger customers. Hotels as well.
Probably the military. Just because like that's, bigger than myself. Not a lot of people go that route. If I could go back, I'd do it again. That's one thing I'd definitely do again. One time it was 125 in the shade. And they had us still marching around in long sleeves, and they're like, nope. And people are dropping left and right.
That made me a Green Bay fan for life. When I found out that Green Bay was owned by the citizens of Green Bay, I said that sure beats the hell out of all these millionaires. So
We saw a bear in the parking lot. Yep. I mean, from the window, we weren't with the bear, that he just sort of wandered through, and we called the homeowners association or whatever they had, and they said, oh yeah, he wanders through all the time. This was our house in Fairfax, Virginia. It was July the 4th weekend when we had just moved in, so that was 1996. So it's probably July of 1997, and everybody came, and the house was a 5-bedroom or 4-bedroom and an office. It was big. Oma and Opa's 50th in Florida. And we were in the town of, it was Vero Beach, or was it nearby? They rented a place which is connected to the Dodgers used to summer camp there for their training, the baseball team. And so we were there.
And I was in a mustache phase, so.
Yeah.
Oma and Opa definitely came to my graduation from Choate. And we're at Audrey's graduation from grad school. It was that picture that I forwarded along.
She's a very good writer, and she's excellent with plants. So she has a green thumb, and whenever you go to her house, everything's in bloom and doing just perfectly.
Memories like growing up. First it'd be like, my family would go down there for a while, for like a week every like summer or something like that, a week or two. And then it became just like my dad and I going down, or like my dad, Zachary, and I, because my mom was working. And then all of a sudden, just one year, I think I was like 13, and one year they're like, hey, you're gonna go by yourself. And I was like, what? Little kid me was like, wait, what? And for like a couple of years, I was just an unaccompanied minor, And I remember every single time my dad would be like, whatever you do, don't have any soda. Don't ask for anything. Don't do this, don't do that. And as soon as he turned around, you go to the kids' room or whatever it is, and they're like, hey, do you want something out of the fridge? And what do you see? Soda. And I remember one time, he's like, whatever you do, don't ask for sushi. Because I was on a sushi binge. Got off the plane, and where you want to go? Yeah. But like I remember a couple times growing up, Mimi would let me like cook in the kitchen, and I would just throw random stuff together, and it would be sometimes like the worst thing on the planet. But like I was having fun, and like, it was just, I could see that Mimi was having a good time. Like, Grandpa did do a lot of work back then when I would visit, but like he would still spend like the evening with us, We'd like watch a movie or something back when Netflix still sent DVDs in the mail. Oh yeah. I know. And we'd pick like just a random movie and we'd watch it.
As your grandmother, who in her 50s went back to school in computers and got a master's.
Say Aunt Marianne, I have a memory of her sending me gift baskets or gift packages to when I was in boarding school at Choate. And I think my mom has sent you and Rachel packages when you were in school. So I think that was a really nice tradition that the family did.
I always looked up to Grandpa because like he was always a hard worker, and like both my grandpas actually, they always, you know, I never saw them not working. Like Grandpa would drive up and down the country, you know, all the time. Like I remember one year, him and Mimi came up to Connecticut, and then we drove back down to Florida in his BMW, and that was pretty cool. And it was just, I think between the two of my grandpas, like that's where I got my work ethic. And like I've pretty much not stopped working since I was like 14 or 15, I think.
As an adult, he has really been a dad that has been superior. Like he really spends much of his time on his kids and really goes the extra mile for the kids, to give them every opportunity. And so I would say that my proudest thing of my brother is the dad that he is.
And he went to school, and then he wound up with a PhD.
And I love how Jackie and Jim have found this wonderful job of the cruises that you all now get to enjoy together. And you all, I see the pictures on Instagram of you all on this cruise or that cruise or trying this food or that food.
Definitely hardworking. Also love to travel, like with Aunt Jackie. I also love to travel and stuff like that. But it's always nice getting to see them, especially when they come here. Like, we went to golf, like a driving range one time.
I know loves to travel and always has these exciting things on, you know, that I see on Facebook wherever you're going together, which I think is great.
Your mom was, 3.5 years to get an engineering degree. Hello. So
I admire Ann Hunch's spirit of adventure and traveling and trying different things. I mean, that takes a lot to live in some of the countries where she's lived in, where, there may not be the infrastructure that we're used to. And especially she had young kids and everything. So I think I admire that. And I have some of those same maybe qualities or drive that she has when it comes to that kind of stuff.
She always had so much energy, and like, I was always just like, how? Even like first thing in the morning, I don't even know how. Like, she wouldn't even have like her coffee yet. And I remember just going in circles, and I'm just like, how?
Mom still always impresses me with her energy and her organization, her kind of ability to get things done. Like, she is super active, super social in a way that I am not. Like, she will make herself the center of any community immediately on arriving. And I think that was invaluable when they were moving overseas every couple of years and had to like integrate with a new culture or a new like group of expatriates in a different country.
Well, they just recently had their 50th wedding anniversary, so that was a very impressive milestone. And the fact that they have both spent their whole lives doing things outside of most people's comfort zones.
Yeah.
Who's gonna just move to Nigeria when there are coups happening in the country? There are military men with like AK-47s on the road, but my parents are fine moving there. So I think they've always had a sense of adventure, and they knew that they would do it together.
Audrey is just an overall wonderful, sweet, loving person, and she's built an incredible life for herself, and she's chosen a wonderful husband, Ryan. And she, battled some health issues with strength and courage. So I'd love to even spend more time with Audrey.
Things I admire about Audrey, I think that she's very smart and capable. I think she's had a lot of drive to kind of go on to what's the next phase in her life. Like, she's gone through a couple transitions, like when she went to grad school, got her MBA, when she went to work for the government, when she then left the government and decided to support Ryan when he went into the business school and took her all around the country. I think she's shown a lot of resilience and determination through that, and like landed in a good place. And I also am like, she went through breast cancer several years ago, and that was a tough thing, but she's come out, stronger than ever. And I'm like very happy for her having found Ryan and then his family, because I think that's also a great extended family that I'm, kind of a part of secondarily now, and have spent a couple Christmases with.
Andrew is just a rock star, super smart, hard worker, and came to visit him one time when he was working at Dropbox, and he showed us all around. Just an incredibly smart person, went to MIT, and very knowledgeable about a lot of things. So we'd love to spend more time with him as well.
He's so smart and so kind and considerate and so loving. And he has friends of all different types and interests, and he just manages to work with all of them seamlessly and keep friendships over time, right? He has friends from all different stages of his life, which is hard to do when we move around all the time. And then he's always very true to himself. So he wants to do a certain type of work that keeps him interested. So as soon as he gets tired of that or burnt out with that, he is ready to take on a different challenge and find what is going to keep him interested. And that he's not just doing something for the money or doing something to have a job. He wants to learn and grow and contribute. And that's a very good trait.
Yeah, and I think a corollary to that is just self-awareness, like knowing what is really important to you and doing that is a trait that I think he exemplifies. I've been really impressed with his kind of embrace of getting active and being fit, and his hiking and biking and all that. I think over the last 4 or 5 years, he's really embraced that and focused on that. And I've been impressed to see that kind of transition for him over the last few years.
What do I admire about the family? Well, I think we're a very worldly bunch, and I think that's partially because Oma and Opa, lived in the Netherlands, then they moved to Indonesia, then they came to the United States. So, and I think Mom and Aunt Huncha came here when they were pretty young. And so I think we have, a kind of a neat history that not everybody has.
At Rachel's wedding, was it last year, 2 years ago? I remember meeting all of kind of the extended family on Abby's side and on Jim's side, and like all thinking that those were all great people. So, I enjoy that.
I think this family is the most welcoming, least judgmental group of people that I've ever met. Who you are is who you are, and they love you for that.
I think that's a wonderful trait to have, and maybe partially because of having an international, like grandparents, Oma and Opa.
Mm-hmm.
We're in really hard times in Holland. They lived in Indonesia. They emigrated to America. It wasn't easy. But yeah, being very welcoming and very open to different experiences. So I'm very impressed with all the family for those sort of things that I see.
We're all kind of like unique in our own little like ways. Where like there's some families where like every single person's identical, but like here like everyone's different. Like Rachel went for dentistry, you went for culinary, here I am, I didn't go to college at all, which is like a big like wait what, especially in our family, like after some of the schools everyone's gone to, it's like that whole mix of stuff kind of like helped mold all of us into who we are now.
I mean, our whole family are real achievers, right? The whole family, and we are so proud of every single one of them.
giving, loving.